Mid-morning the next day, Ronnel, Willem, you are arrayed, your retinue is beyond in the courtyard, putting the last preparations together for your departure, as many other lords and ladies have from Helmscrest. But you stand before Lord Gerald and his house, and his lady daughter Eileen, and the knights of that house. And Gerald awaits your approach to him, the two of you, and Eileen next to him will curtsy, as will her lady mother Ella before you at your approach. My lords, my thanks that you've come to honour my daughter's wedding. Give your best, give my best to your lord father. Hope that he finds his own new wife and health well. The Grayles are always welcome here, and he extends his hand towards you.
Yeah, I'll shake it and nod. You've been very welcoming, and your hospitality is second to none. We'll be certain to visit soon.
You would be welcome, sir. And you, he nods to you, Willem.
Yes, Willem will bow deeply. Thank you, Lord, for your hospitality. We will be in touch about about gaining my spurs, as we discussed.
Indeed, I look forward to it, my lord. Until then, and he'll step back, allowing Eileen to approach you as the parties break and go to their business. I must confess, my lord, I've looked forward to your company these days, whilst you've been a guest of my father at his house. Now that you are to leave, I find myself missing you even while you stand before me.
Willem smiles down at her. As have I, my lady. I did not expect to find such a companion here. I will look forward to our next meeting.
It will be lonely here without Sylvie, but father says that we will go south to the capital when the king has his son's name day tourney. Perhaps I may see you there.
Yes, I'm sure you will.
And she'll smile back and step back into her red, white, and blue robes, and a squire or stable hand will bring your horse up to you with a curt bow. My lord.
Yeah, right.
I'll just nod and take the horse.
I'll do the same and get up pretty handily and give a final nod and then intend to sort of just go and not look back in a sort of cool guy way. He's accustomed to being that way. So he'll give a nod to the Lord and one last look at the castle and then turn to go.
So Kevan calls out from where he stands with the family. My thanks, sir, again for gracing us. I owe you my life and my friendship. I hope Storm serves you well, as the horse strides, corded beneath you.
Indeed, fine beast. And they've made a friendship here, and that's a good thing. Will I see you at the tourney?
You will, sir.
Very good. Perhaps we'll have some good sport there.
He laughs, indeed, and gives a wave. Sylvie does too, though it's with not as much cordial as his.
Yeah, I'll just give her a bit of a look, a little longer of a look, but then be pretty confident that that problem's been solved and never needs to be surfaced again.
Upon that, there's still no sign of Auster or Jes, but you're confident in their endeavours as you ride west, cutting across the tamed country of House Hart till the byways of his domain bring you out onto the King's Road. It's there sometime afternoon. The weather is fair, that a rider approaches at pace from south of you. The men aren't alarmed because of your number and bearing, but perhaps there is some worry when you realise as the rider grows closer that it's Jes as to what news you're about to be born.
Ronnel will frown and then begin riding towards her, urging Willem to come with him, but telling the rest to stay.
Yeah, I'll ride up.
Yeah, Jes will stay a bit further away and be acting quite strange, and sort of stay a little bit off the path and be gesturing only for her two brothers to come over and speak with her. She looks quite scared and out of breath, a bit shaken and rattled.
What happened?
There you are, Jes. What? Yes.
No, as she looks around super cautiously, make sure nobody else is in earshot. The Hog Knight, we took care of him, my lord brothers, just as you said.
You saw him home.
She looks worriedly from the direction she came and hesitates. He's gone. Gone to the gods.
What? Why?
And she begins sort of stammering and trying to catch up over her own words, speaking too quickly. What do you mean? That was the order. Auster, I was just doing as Auster said.
Make sure he gets home.
I don't know. I did as Auster said.
You've murdered an anointed knight.
She begins just trembling and like rubbing her face and hands, like very distressed.
Where's Auster?
He's wounded. He rode ahead to get some help for himself. We made it look like bandits. It's okay.
You made it look like
nobody
bandits.
will know.
Bandits attacked an armed and armored knight in the middle of the night. Is what you made it look like.
Yes. Auster said he heard that there's activity on the King's Road.
Close to the castle.
And well, I
Where's
only
the body?
Ronnel. I can show you.
I understand that you're upset, but there's no time to be upset. This is very unfortunate.
And she swallows and catches herself and tries to be less of a frightened child. The situation that she finds herself in. She sets her jaw. I can show you where he is.
No, we can't go there. If we go there and someone sees us there, sees me there, or sees you there.
Look. We used the wine that I borrowed from Swansong. Auster put some poison in it. And then we approached him on the road. And he attacked, and so we had to... She just trails off.
He attacked you.
It's not how I imagined. And she is meaning killing a man rather than a beast, of which she's killed many.
He attacked you.
Well, yes, Auster's wounded.
Is he okay? Where is he gone?
I do not know. He knows how to take care of wounds, I'm sure. If you got to the inn, which he should have made it to the inn, and perhaps he got some boiled wine. Perhaps whatever. I think he said he was skipping the first inn or two so as not to be too suspicious. Or maybe he said he was definitely going to the first one because otherwise it would be suspicious.
How does it look?
It all happened so quickly.
How does it look, do you think, if the Maester of House Grayle arrives wounded in an inn in the middle of the night with no explanation? do you think that looks? Not good.
There's an explanation. It was bandits, Ronnel. The same bandits that killed the knight. Don't you see?
And so Auster and the Hog Knight were walking together on the road?
Yeah, Auster was seeing him home. It will be okay, won't it?
Willem's just like a bit wide-eyed and slightly pale, and just sort of stroking his chin and just looking around. Maybe we should just stay away from this, right? You've said everything in its place. Nothing links to us.
We know now, and so we have to do something about it. What if he's dying? How badly was he wounded?
It was a strike with the sword. I think it got him on the side. It looked really painful.
Ronnel rubs a hand over his face. Which inn did he go to?
I think it was the closest one to the south.
You think?
Well, it won't be suspicious if we stop in there. It's the first one along the road. Thankfully, we're leaving ahead of most other partygoers, it seems. Could stay ahead of the rumours. I can ride ahead. I'll go to the inn now. I'll go and find Auster.
No.
I'll bring him back to Swansong.
No, you won't. You've done enough.
Oh, yes.
We should not tarry here over long.
No. What reason do we have to go to an inn behind us?
Auster will have to make his own way back to Swansong.
No. No, he can't do that. What if he's badly injured? What if... a million things. One of us has to go.
I draw the least attention, Ronnel, she says, and then puts her eyes downward.
He's trying not to say anything shitty. He's trying to remain calm. But he's finding it difficult not to be clearly you are not good at drawing no attention. You've murdered a knight. He says, need a set of clothes, something plain, and I'll go. And you, Willem, go with the rest. Back to Swansong.
Willem nods. Aye. What? What do I say? Where do I say you've gone, if I'm asked?
I'm headed back to Swansong. I must speak with my companions there. I've forgotten something.
Very good. Are you injured, Jes?
No, I think I'm okay, she says, still very rattled and shaken.
Okay, can we just get clear on which way we have to go? Does our troop go past there anyway, or do we have to go in the opposite direction to get to the inn?
No, it's along the way that you're wanting to head northwest to get back to Swansong. I'd misremembered what Auster had described last session as to which direction he'd take to find an inn, and I thought it was south. But if it's indeed north, then like it would be, it would have happened that Jes came to you from ahead, the path that you were traveling at pace back to meet you halfway, and he would be presumably beyond her on the trail north.
Oh, okay. Well, then we don't need to do any of that stuff. We can just ride to this inn, but quicker than we're going.
Yeah, we could ride ahead with Jes, maybe.
Not Jes. He'll say, I'll go. And you, Willem. And then he'll kick his horse and go.
Well,
I'm sorry, Ronnel.
yeah, I'll ride after Ronnel then. Looking back at Jes.
Yeah, and she's just looking super shaken and dejected. All she was trying to do was follow Auster's orders. And now a man's dead.
Earlier that day, the wee hours, Auster, you found your way to the stables of the inn at the crossroads, where the road to Cairnhold cuts the King's Road in half. And in the gloom there, stabled your horse somehow, and made no small noise there, given your state. Notice that there are other beasts in the stalls too. When you made your way across the muddy yard to the door to be greeted by a stout lad, just over the cusp of manhood, I guess, aiming a crossbow at you and asking your business at this hour.
Traveling late. Now, boy, help me with my saddlebag and my things. I seek a room, your best room, and privacy.
Yes, sir, he says, lowering the crossbow. Your tone, just telling him innately you have coin to match the speech, and he puts the thing aside and rushes out to see to your beast and things, have them brought up the stairs with you, looking away from you as he's been taught when nobles or possible nobles come in, and in the bearing of this gear up to a room, his mother, so to speak, and sister will be roused, as well as some other guests snoring in the commons. And she will come up demanding payment for the services and for the hour of rousing them.
Yes, sorry to disturb you at such late evening. Yes, certainly, I will pay double for the room and the inconvenience.
Thanks, my lord, she'll say, and give a bow, adopting similar vigilance to Devon before her. And once she's taken the coin, she'll be quick about it and see that food and drink are borne up to your room, and then you're left with the privacy that you spoke of. As she's about this, she introduces herself as Masha Hedel, that you need only call her one of her children for any comforts, my lord. And she's much gracious with you and constantly chews a red sour leaf, like some of the soldiers up in Swansong are wont to do. And after
Yes,
less
could you bring up boiling water, please, and some
of course,
wine?
my lord.
I have brought tea from the south, and I wish to try it.
She'll nod, of course, my lord, and she'll take her daughter Brenna, and they'll go about just that. And by the end of the hour, since you came to the inn, a cauldron of scalding waters are borne up to you, as well as the other things which you'd asked. And you're left to the steam in the room and the glow of dawn outside the shuttered window. In comfort without, but pain in.
Yeah, I do my best to, and if I need to use a deception to do so, to mask my ailment. And once everything is secured and the window is secured, the door is locked, I attend to my wound with all my medical knowledge, boiling wine, if I need be, to cleanse it, and then set to it with strips of my torn silk clothing to mend the wound.
Yeah, you manage to maintain consciousness despite the pain and exhaustion and the cleansing. But eventually, the needful things are done, and you lay back, sweat slickened, in the comfortable pallet at the end of the crossroads, and can find some healing rest there through much of the morning. After the pushing through the edges of delirium, you can awaken to life's necessities, and then to the food and drink from the night before. You can take and hear distantly in the mid, maybe it's late afternoon, you wouldn't know unless you threw open the shutters. Down in the commons, you can hear the low hubbub of a small group of folk down there, and every so often someone walking up the hallway past your room, and the usual calls being made across an inn.
Yeah, make no noise. The plan is to wait, and wait I will.
Riding hard north ahead of your men, Willem and Ronnel, you disturb a flock of crows that swarm up like a cloud and shrilly protest your interruptions at their glut, and leave you as they feather off into the sky with the pervasive stink of death. The horses' noses rankle and they throw at the bit and take steps sideways, so you can master horsemen both, urge them back to your will, but the smell is stifling and summons a forearm up over the nose, and your eyes sting as you look about at it. You see the glint of, not the glint, I should say, like the streak or stripe of pale human flesh, camouflaged amongst the weed and grass that grows close to this unwatched stretch of the King's Road.
Surely not. Ronnel is. It's this.
Yeah, he'll get off his horse and like rush over, thinking to find Auster.
Alongside the road, in a shallow gully, bodies lay. 3 men, or one of them, probably more a boy than a man. They're clothed in undergarments, and layers of mud and blood are caked on them, and their choicest parts, namely lips and eyes, have been stolen by the crows you disturbed. And they lay there sprawled, inglorious in death, stripped of whatever goods they'd borne here, cold and white now, and dirtied. Their dark eye sockets eaten bear witness and mute testimony to the evils of men.
Ronnel like looks up and says thank you to the gods. There are bandits. It's not Auster.
Good. Yes. Is there anything else like that to show what had happened here? Like, are there?
What's your passive perception?
13.
It's hard to tell. There's weed and grass everywhere, which would obscure like much trace and like track of the movements around here. From what you can see, a horse beyond. There's nothing of worth or goods here on them, though you think that they may have borne weapons at least, given that they are rent through with so many. These bodies, I mean.
So
there's certainly like crushed grass and weeds and things like that around, but at first glance, that's all you notice.
you can see like blade wounds or stuff on them, can I? Like they were killed violently?
Yep. Yeah, you see slash wounds across their like knuckles, forearms and shoulders, like consistent with blade or axe fighting. But then you also notice on their torso and legs, the more like bullet hole type, like arrow or quarrel wounds. But they're not feathered. Like you don't recover any arrows or quarrels from the bodies, but you can just tell that that's how they were done in.
Yeah. And no one, like, is it early morning or is it like midday?
If you were riding hard from where we'd left it last, it would be mid-afternoon, just 3 or so in the afternoon.
And no one's done anything about these bodies, so obviously it's like a slim travelled area. Okay, there's nothing like that marks them as being from anywhere. Like I guess all the valuables were taken and everything, right? So I think I'll have a quick look to see if any of them have like a ring or like anything like that.
Mhm.
But if not, then I'll just move on.
You can use a perception check.
Oh yes, sir. That is a 14.
So none of them bear rings, but you'd notice that the two older men's bodies, their hands, though cut and slashed, are well calloused, consistent with like warriors or knights' hands, people at like war work their whole lives. You don't find any riches that have not already been like stripped by whoever did for these men, nor any tabardry which would tell you who they are. But you do notice hoof prints all about, as well as boot prints in like what mud has not been carpeted over by weed and grass. And at the disturbance, the youngest of the three coughs blood and wheezes wetly, and sets to mewling and crying out.
Oh god. He's got no eyes, right? Like they've been eaten by crows and stuff.
Oh, he'd been laying on his back.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, on his face.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I'll take some water from my horse and bring it over to him.
Pink spittle is hardened around the corner of his lips, and much of the water just comes up red mud. He coughs and tries to thank you, you think, as he mumbles something in his delirium.
Where are you from?
Wendish town, lord. I'm Jodrell. And I have a mother, lord. Master Timon and Ser Berick. Oh, they killed them, and they've killed me, lord.
Does it look like this guy will definitely die? Do you think it's possible? Like, does Ronnel think it's possible he could be saved? Or is he too far?
Rolling him over, he's got a gut wound that he's been huddling over, and bits of him stay like stuck in the mud as he like spool him over onto his back, like intending to like check him for rings. So it's a mortal wound, but a slow, terrible one.
So he said, Wendish Town? Is that right?
That's where he himself was from.
Okay.
Timon and Ser Berick, we were headed north to Maidenpool.
What house is Ser Berick from? And Timon?
The hedges, lord, but we sought to serve the fish lords there.
Uh-huh. I'm sorry, boy.
Who came upon you, Jodl?
Men, more than us, I think, fletched us. They got one of the horses and it ran off and spilled Roddick, and then men came and seized upon him. One were dressed like a poor knight, sir, but did not fight as one. And then like cries, like becoming sensate for a moment and seeing his terrible wound and then reeling back mentally from it.
Yeah, Ronnel doesn't know what to do, and doesn't know what to ask him. And so
They bore no arms, sir, but they stole the blackberry bush of Sir Roddick.
It's his shield, I assume.
Talk of obscure images like that usually denotes sigilry or mark or something.
Yeah, and when they don't recognize the Jester Hedge Knight, right? Like. I'm sorry, boy. You did well.
Will they knight me, he asks, his eyes blind now and his face drained of colour.
Yeah. Do you have a message for your mother?
He nods, tears falling, and he mumbles something. You alone hear his last words. Were you able to repeat them? That's the only way we'd know.
Yeah, I'll sit with him for a second, and then like draw my dagger and put him out of his misery in like the kindest way that I know how.
Yeah, you can step back and see beyond fly-ridden corpse and crow-pecked corpse of a horse beyond on the edge of where the woods grow darker. But looking around, there's nothing else but for the invisible stench.
I want when our troops get here to begin tracking those tracks, and then to like once they have a direction, wait for us here.
Okay. Like both of you have the noble background, I think, right? So at least one of you would have like quill ink and paper, probably Willem, I guess,
We could even just
in his saddlebags.
Yeah, okay. Just enough to basically say like investigate tracks, don't follow all the way, wait here, sort of like that.
And then you can mount back up and head on in search of Auster.
Yeah,
after you leave a message.
that would be my plan. Yeah, unless one wants to do something else, if he wants to wait or something like that. But
No, Willem's sort of just like, moving without thinking much, like just going through the motions and, yeah, not saying very much, just
I guess
thinking.
he hasn't seen like a lot of battle right in the way that Ronnel has, so maybe the gore is a bit more shocking to him.
Yeah, and not like this, not like just
Yeah.
men murdered in the bush. Yeah, so he's just sort of like blindly following Ronnel.
A light drizzle sets in. It doesn't worsen by the time some hours later that Jes and the rest of the Grayle retinue come upon this reeking scene as well, and can find hidden in the lee of a nearby bramble the message that your lord spoke earlier, and the men will grumble as it's read out for all to hear. And these words seem to mean, Jes, that you're to track the ne'er-do-wells who have caused this scene wherever they might lead, rather than north upon the road to where your brothers have ridden.
Looks like no rest yet. Very well. And she'll dismount and have a good survey of the scene, try and find the tracks, and set to work straight away.
Grumbles, not grumbles, sorry, but coughs Sir Garin. It is well, Ronnel has good as done us a good turn here. We shall track down these steps and do justice upon whoever's caused this slaying. And he looks to the wood, puffing out his chest. Mark my words, you'll see blood in the hours to come, Daleb. And Daleb looks stricken, and Garin looks hopeful. The two guards look between each other and relay your orders, Jes, down to the wagon master. And they'll temporarily unhorse and go about investigating the scene, burying the men, leaving the finer part of the tracking to one more skilled.
Yeah, Jes would try and shoot a reassuring look to young Daleb before setting to work, finding the tracks and following along.
Can I get a survival check, please?
Yeah. Uh, 17.
So there are boot prints and hoof prints several days old, which lead west from this scene out into a wild country for a short distance, and then soon into like overgrown hills that must have been felled in some times past. There's like stumps here and there, and then smaller shrubs and trees about them. It doesn't look like this land's been tended for some time. After passing by a stream which kind of nestles against the western border of the huddle of hills, you come into denser territory again, and darkness looms by the time that you set up a cold, dark camp upon the trail which leads into the unquiet woods far west of the King's Road now. For that check, you can determine that there were 4 in the party who rode and walked back. One was mounted, another led a wounded horse and did not ride it.
Yeah, she would relay that to the men with her. 4 men, and they took prey upon those 3 men who are now bodies in the side of the King's Road. Must be. She goes to say something and then trails off.
They were caught unawares, and we are knowing, for is nothing before us. We are trained Grayle men, and the crossbowmen seem to agree, though mutely, with him, nodding.
And so they're sitting around the campfire as they discuss this, maybe having something to eat as well. And so the tracks were several days old when we first found them. How far does Jes think these men might be from where they are now? Still a couple of days away, or?
No, you think closer than that. The horse prints up and down either side of the stream at the western border of that Huddles and Hills was used in a back and forth manner, which kind of coalesces back onto the trail that you've been scouting west beyond it. And so you think possibly the people who did for Jodrell and the knights that he travelled with stay nearby to that, providing water. And so you think must not be far from the stream.
We're gaining ground on them, but I wonder if we'll go rest if we could reach them tonight and do away with them.
If we left the wagon behind, we could. It slows us down.
They may not be the only bandits active in the area. Would not feel right leaving the wagon unattended.
Garen slumps against a tree at that, makes a sour face and orders Daleb to set camp then.
We'll rise before dawn and keep riding.
He looks back east to where the brothers Grayle had disappeared, and then reluctantly agrees, and then goes off to tell Daleb how he's doing something wrong and shows him how to do it right. The crossbowman and Wainmaster oblige and will help set a cold camp in a hidden nook not too far into the woods from the stream you'd crossed.
And I think Jes would want to, down where those horse prints were at the stream, where it's clear that that's where they're coming to fetch their water. I think she would maybe want to do a bit of a stakeout on that to see if they come during the night, then she can get a better look at them or anything like that, or maybe have an opportunistic whittling of their numbers.
Cool. So back at the inn, the crossroads, the side of the timbers and thatched roof of the inn are welcome in the unending drizzle from this afternoon as it's passing swiftly now into this evening. There's a curl of blue smoke from the fieldstone chimney above that speaks of warmth of the hearth, and there's light from the shuttered windows that prisms out, which tells of warm food, respite, and folk inside, and hopefully Auster. There are 6 horses and a mule in the stables, where your own beasts are taken by a boy who introduces himself as Davin at your pleasure. And you see the beasts out of the rain and commence to wiping them down with straw and take your goods and coin and all of that type of thing. and you can swiftly cross the yard and inside of the old stone house inn. In here it's warm and hot and stinks. Oh, sorry?
I'll give him a silver coin so he makes sure that my very expensive new horse is taken care of to the best of his ability.
His eyes will go wide and he'll take to that with extreme effort.
And then I'll say, also, we didn't come here. Understand?
He doesn't even make that puppy sidelong glance or furrow of the brow. He just simply nods, "Yes, my lord."
Not a lord. Was never here.
Aye.
Good. And then I'll go inside.
He doesn't seem to have pockets, but the coins disappeared and he'll go to Storm and the other beasts. Inside it. Oh, sorry?
Is Auster's horse here?
It is. If you look for it amongst the stalls, you'd find it stabled and well kept.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to look at that boy very much. Yeah, and I'll go inside as well.
Yeah, as I was saying, it's warm, heady, sweaty. In here, there's the smell of good food and the prospect of comfort from the road. Glancing around, though, there is no sign of Auster here. You see two men dressed, I would not finery, but comfortable traveling clothing, who sit dicing. There is an old man who sits whittling something at a far table. There is a man who coughs and hacks over his stew, and punctuates his coughing by slurping down spoonfuls of it. And there are serving folk, as well as Davin the stable boy, who'll come in after a time if you spend any there. A red-mouthed woman with a daggered smile will come up to you, wiping her hands cleanish upon her apron. "Masha Heedle, sirs, at your pleasure," and she'll give a curtsy.
Very good. Thank you. We'll take food and drink.
"Brenna," she'll point, and Brenna will go off. "Aye, sir."
We're expecting someone. He might have arrived already. Middle-aged, brown-haired, quite a pale man.
"I may know a man like that, my lord, but we Heedles are not in the manner of speaking of our guests to unproven folk."
That's a good quality. One that I shall depend upon you for.
"Of course, my lord."
What if I paid a little extra for this meal and this drink?
"Then I would know you to be as generous as your friend, and alike enough that I'd give you his name, I thought."
Good. Then I'll do so. And he'll tap the purse, where I'm sure it jingles with enough noise that her ear can definitely tell that there's money there. Proper money.
She'll take out what's measured and leave Brenna to her swift artifice of providing food and drink for you, Willem. And Masha will take you up the stairs at the kind of half-second floor, along a railed walkway to a certain room where she won't knock, but will turn upon her heel, give a nod of her head, and walk away to leave you looking at the door.
Yeah, I'll knock once, and then if it's openable, I will simply open the door, and if not, I'll wait.
It would be locked, I imagine. But yeah, Auster, you hear this first two sets of footsteps outside your door, one moving away, and the other remains. You can see the shadow of boot prints underneath the door from the light of the hallway.
I come to the door and I will say, "Yes, I will be taking my food in here. Is it prepared?"
Hearing his voice, I'll be sure that it's him, and I'll say, "It's me." Open the door.
I'll open it a crack, seeing that it's Ronnel and Willem. You're behind him.
Yeah.
I'll just have it slightly open, and then I'll look down to see if there's any heart guards waiting in the hallway. Seeing that there's none, I push the door open, turn my back, and then limp over to the room's chair and slump into it.
Are you all right?
I'll be okay.
You'll live?
I'll live.
Then what the fuck are you playing at?
What the fuck am I playing at? Ronnel, please close the door.
Yeah, Willem will close the door at Ronnel's loud tone.
You murdered a man. You murdered a knight, an anointed knight of the Seven. I told you to see him on his way home. You've murdered him, and you involved Jes in that, and she is distraught.
Yes, it was... Unfortunately, I had to involve her.
Why did you kill him?
Because I had to do as my lord commanded.
I told you to send him home.
I did serve the Lord of Grayle. You know your father stopped asking questions a long time ago. He'd only say, and you know it, "You are about your lord's affairs?" You've heard him say this. He left distraught, Ronnel. What did you say to him?
I told him something he didn't want to hear. I told him to go home and never come back. And he was going, as I see it.
So you blackmailed him?
I suppose.
That was not the plan. I thought you were going to say nothing. Let this, whatever it was, going to unravel.
It seemed best to me that we involve ourselves for the sake of our house and alliances and the friends that we have made and that we will keep making through the wedding we just went to.
Yes, and that is all well and good. But to have a man like him, Ronnel, yes, I'm sure right now the storm seems fierce. But beyond this is a clear sky. To leave a man like that out in the open, I don't know what you said to him, but if you look south, all you'll see is a dark cloud. If it went your way.
What's happening?
And murder.
Now?
Murder. Why did this concern you? It'll be the Seven that I must answer to.
No, you must answer to me.
Brothers, we must keep our voices down. Someone will hear. Willem's wild-eyed, sort of at the door, listening.
If I want you
Draw
to kill
attention
a man,
to ourselves.
If I want you to kill a man, I will say the words "kill him." If I want you to see that he goes along the road home, I will say "see him home."
Once again, I must
murder a man on suggestion, on what you read into my words. You've killed a knight, and then you've been badly injured, and now you've limped here, bloody. And if anyone connected those two things, and any fucking idiot could, then it looks like the man that I was quarrelling with all night last night has been murdered in the street.
Listen, I wanted his body to be found. Because I want the questions of his fate to rest on the bandits that plague this road. To leave him missing? Yes, I did. Now remember, and I'll say it again, I did serve the Lord of Grayle, as if saying, you're not the Lord of Grayle. But you will be. And I'll serve you and protect you. But know that there are two truths. Ones you speak, and ones you just know. And now you have one that you just know. When you come into your rule, there will be things like this that will happen. And it will be my job to protect you from them. Do you think all battles are won on a field with honor?
No, I'm not a simpleton. I understand that there are complex things afoot. But when I tell you to do a thing, I expect you to do that thing, not the opposite thing. I don't expect you to go killing people without my consent.
I did what I did to protect our house. You do know this, right?
I think that you think that, yes. There are dead on the road 3. A hedge knight and some others were killed by bandits, which is incredibly lucky for us. Because now we can go and find those bandits and kill them, and then we can find something belonging to the Hog Knight there.
You want to... I will do as you command. But my suggestion is that we ride for Swansong. Let the bandits... If there are already 3 dead, they will be found, as the Hog Knight has been found. Or not found. Maybe he was taken off by wolves. But the story, it is sold.
I don't like it.
Well, there'll be more such instances. It may not be murder, but it may be other things. I would steal your stomach, Ronnel. The storms... There are many. Speak of your father with this.
It's not a question of having enough stomach. I think I've got plenty for that. It's a question of me telling you to do a thing and you doing a different thing. That's a problem. If I had said, do what you think is correct, or do what you think is the best idea, or you take care of it, that's different. But if I tell you to see him home, and then you kill him, that's not doing what I told you to do.
Your father charged me with protecting the house. I did as he commanded.
He told you to kill this man?
Your father trusts me in such matters.
He told you to kill this man?
Of course not.
Okay, I told you not to. I told you to bring him home. And while I'm here and he's not, I'm the Lord.
My face just gets probably stony after this and says, yes, my lord.
Can you move?
Yes, I can ride.
Then let's go.
So down out of the busied and warm commons, out into the cold, drizzled yards, into the cool stables to be up on the beasts, and out into the foul weather back the trail you'd ridden, seeking Jes and the rest of the Grayle retinue. I imagine in silence, other than the natural and beastly ones.
Yeah, Willem's like getting pretty concerned about like the trail of evidence we've left. Like, you know, people at the inn know who we are, or might have an inkling, you know, all the breadcrumbs, but then he's acting real shady, being potentially like more of a problem than just acting normal. Like he's just looking around, stressing out.
I'll be sure to like pay that woman like much more than I need to. That like she didn't hear, like we haven't been here, she didn't hear an argument, nothing like that, and like pay her a pretty significant amount of money for her, I guess, you know. I don't want to like make an overt threat, but there will be like an implied threat that if something gets out, that I'll be back. But it won't come to that obviously because I'm paying her, sort of thing, you know.
Yeah, she's no fool or stranger to the way of things, and if you command her to be silent and give her silver to do so, she will be. And she'll say nothing on it, but take the silver and squirrel it away.
Yeah, beyond that, I think on the road, Ronnel will be sort of quietly thinking about what to do with this situation and about his place in this situation, and like the way that he's spoken to his siblings recently and a lot of things like that, I think. But mostly he's just trying to make sure that this doesn't explode.
Jes, you don't know what time it is when you awaken from within your cloak and like woody bed amongst the roots of a leafless tree. But you know that you've fallen asleep on that watch over the stream through the night at some point, and need to make your night water. And while doing so down near the stream, you can hear the sounds of someone grumbling in between taking up a whistle that's poor. Something old and well repeated, inane, wordless song. But it freezes you in fear as what appears to be warrior comes quite carefree in like physical demeanor out of the woods beyond towards the stream, relieves himself before he gets to it, and then crouches down to wash his face, drink, and fill two big gourds that he had slung up upon his back. Doesn't notice you in the gloom beyond. You've chosen your place. Doesn't even look around as one of guilty conscience or fear for his surrounding might.
She is suddenly very aware that she is alone out here with this man in the middle of the night, and all that stands between her and her potential death at the hands of this warrior is the fact that he doesn't know she's there. And flashbacks from the arrows that she sent into the flesh of the hog knight keep coming back to her, and she blinks and jerks her head to get them out of her mind, try and focus on the moment at hand.
Oh, have you seen my boy, good sir? His hair is chestnut brown. He promised he'd come back to me, our homes in Wendish town. And he'll fill the gourd up with the second one, sling it on his back, and stand up, arching his back. Why is it always me? Bastards. Turns upon his heel and goes to walk up the bank.
She squints through the night darkness, trying to make out any features of this man, his clothing or anything like that, to see where he may be from, what his allegiances may be, how he's armed and armoured.
Well, as to how he's armoured, he's not. And for his colours, there is some like pre-dawn light of the glow, it's early hours of morning, I guess, enough that you could see he doesn't sport any kind of tabardry, and although his clothing is rough, he does not look destitute. Strikingly enough, he has a sword, like he has a lord's weapon belted at his hip, but he's not dressed in armor or anything like that. He has the grumble and manner of someone like picked bringing up the water duty or such, which isn't fitting of someone who bears a sword, you'd think.
Yeah, so she eyes that sword and wonders who his companions must be, if this is the one that's sent to fetch the water. And I think what she'll actually do, since she's got eyes on him, and she's trying to decide whether she wants to put an arrow or two in him now, or just mark him and wait till the morning. But thankfully, she knows that her instincts were right and that they're still nearby from her assessment of the tracks from earlier. So I think what I'll do is she'll study this man and the way he moves, recognize his voice and the way he carries himself, and I will mark him as my with my hunter's mark. That only lasts for up to 1 hour. I'll probably save that until we actually engage them. Sorry.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Because I think, with everything, I think she would be too shaken to actually try and take this dude on by herself one-on-one now. And mechanically, since it's only an hour that it lasts, yeah, she'll just mark him, and once he's gone, she'll emerge from her hiding spot and make her night water, and probably make her way back to where the rest of them are camped.
Yeah, you're thinking about the man and his song and the water as tendrils of sleep reach up to draw you down. But on the cusp of falling into it, you pull back at the sound of man and beast in number in the woods and dark from beyond. Several of your companions hear it too, and already one of the guards, like set on watch, is bearing over a spear to the other man and rousing him when your lords ride through into the cold camp.
And she's just overcome with a sense of relief. She was sure that they could take out these four guys with the numbers that they had, but seeing her brothers all together just brings us the sort of relief, because she was kind of effectively in charge in a way as well in their absence, and just being now relieved of that as well, she can return to being a bit more carefree. And she would run up to them and greet them.
Yeah,
Good morning,
seeing
brothers.
Jes, I immediately do my best to quickly get off my horse, and I'll move to embrace her. You're alive. Thank God.
I'm okay.
Thank the gods.
I'm unhurt. Are you?
I'll be okay.
How is your wound?
It is fine now that it's cleaned and stitched. Did anyone see you?
She shakes her head.
I look her straight in the eye. I'm sorry.
She just kind of nods silently, wordlessly, clearly sort of trying to hold back emotions. And I think she would just lean in and just put her head on his chest, and just sort of probably sob silently, letting it all out a bit, all of the pressure and intensity being released.
So Garen will walk up and help you down from the saddle, Ronnel, and mutter Ron as he like steps back from you. And we've tracked the knaves this far. That one's good. He points to where Jes and Auster is embracing.
She is.
4, he like hoiks at his like breeches, and you can see that he's slept with like a leather jerkin over his belly and chest.
Only 4?
So she says, and he kind of looks as if he could see anything in the dawn.
I don't like it. They killed a hedge knight and 2 others. I suppose 4 from a distance.
Who knows how many they've robbed, the ingrates. We should do them in, Ron. He turns to you and kind of gives you that back of the hand slap against the chest.
I intend to. We just want to make sure they don't get away and that they haven't got traps set up. So we should go without horses, I think. Into the woods. How many men did we bring, Nico? We brought like a party, right? So we'd have like 10-ish.
So Garen Port, yourself, Willem, Auster, Jes, 2 mounted crossbowmen, the wagon driver, and the squire Daleb.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's 9 all up.
Yeah, well, we don't want to bring the wagon driver, I don't think. He's not a soldier, right? He's just like a lad. So yeah, I think probably leave one of the crossbowmen here with the wagon, and then take the rest. I think go by foot, because I'm just very worried about our horses like running into a trap or something in the woods that they wouldn't have laid, or spikes or something that if they're like holed up somewhere. Did you?
The woods are not so dense that you couldn't see that in daylight, but certainly at this current hour, that would be a risk.
Yeah, it's not worth the risk, I don't think. So I'll say as much to what's his name? Sorry, I forgot.
So Garen Port, or
yeah. I said that to him. we just go in and deal with them quick and quiet. And I'll go talk to Jes then and get like a full report of what she'd seen and all the rest.
He smiles and goes over to grab and sort amongst what gear he'll adorn himself in and what he'll forego, given that it will be on foot, and ready his squire as well. The mounted crossbowman will draw straws as to who will stay and go, and similarly, all the camp is like busied now with purpose in the waning hours of shadow.
I'll say to whoever is staying here that they should dig graves for the 3 dead and see them buried. Just so none of them gets a good job.
You mean the 3 from the road who'd been picked at by the crows and the Squire Jodrell? Yep. I'd thought that you'd intended that for like Jes and the group earlier, so in my head they kind of already seen to it.
Yeah, just in case they hadn't.
Okay, cool.
They're buried properly. Okay, yeah.
In that case, one of them would say, what was it that Auster said to you earlier in the room? About the Lord's business. Like, I've done the Lord's business is what they'd say in response to the burying of those bodies. Just to, that's what they'd say.
Yeah, I think he'd frown for a second and then like realize this guy has no idea. But even so, it would kind of stick with him. And then he'd like summon Jes over with that sort of lordly like forefinger, like come here sort of movement.
Like the Sir Ronnel saying come here, not the Ron saying come here.
Yeah. The Lord Ronnel is summoning her. Yeah, she sees it from her vantage point with her face upon Auster's chest and wipes her nose with the back of her sleeve and steadies herself and comes over. My lord.
How many are they and how far?
4. They have 2 horses with them. Only one was riding, so the other may be a pack animal. Not far.
Can you get behind them? Hobble the horses?
I think so. I'm not sure how far around I would need to go. I saw one of them down at the stream. They're very close. They're fetching water during the night.
You're certain there's only 4?
Those are the tracks that I spotted. Unless there is some hideout that these 4 have joined up with.
It would be very close to the inn if there was, but we should be careful anyway. The quicker we can do this and the quieter we can do this, the better.
She nods, eager to redeem herself, I think, and prove her continued value.
And what is your plan beyond this?
Kill them.
Yes, I surmise that, but beyond killing them, do we just leave them?
No.
Do we bring their bodies back to Cairn?
Yes, we bring the bodies back and say that we've killed these bandits along the road. We don't know how much chaos they've sown, but we saw at least 3 dead. And that as friends and loyal companions, we could not in good conscience go home to our place, seeing this happening in their lands. You don't have to come, Auster, if you don't want to. You can stay with the wagon if you wish.
Of course not.
I think Ronnel is like getting tired of, because most of his experience is like at war, where he says something and it happens and people don't ask questions. And so I think he's getting tired of a lot of like, why are we doing this thing? What's going on over here? It's like, I said so, and that's why it should happen, is what he's used to. And so, like all the stress and all the rest, I think is making him like a lot more short-tempered than he usually would be.
Seeing that, I mean, I would have a look on my face like, yeah, this is not a great idea, but I don't make a rebuttal.
Wise. So the plan, I guess, would be for Jes to go as far around as possible and try and hobble their horses, or like, I mean, ideally not injure them, but injure them if she has to. Get in a position where if they start to run, she can shoot the horses, and then we just run in from the front and kill 4 guys without any issue, as far as I can see it. Like, we've got like a couple of knights and stuff with us, so I feel like, or we are a couple of knights, so I feel like it's not going to be too big of a deal. Ronnel thinks that.
Yeah,
Garen
again, that
also
sounds great.
verbally approves of the plan, liking it because it means going to kill something.
The one that I saw down at the river, Ronnel. He had a sword at his belt, but he wasn't wearing his armor. If we strike while they're still, before they rise, we may get them unawares.
Good.
Although I did find it odd that a man with such a relatively fine weapon was the one fetching water. Perhaps the others are armored.
It's possible. They also steal a lot, and so they may not value it the same way that we would. If they just killed some hedge knights and they had swords, then they have swords.
She'll just nod. Ready her bow and her gear.
I know it's hard for you to go into combat with people. You just to make sure they don't get away.
I can do that.
Good.
As you say, my lord.
Yeah, he'll nod and like roll his shoulder a little bit, and like tighten some of the straps on his armor, and then like give a final look to Garen Port and to Willem, and be keen to go.
And what will Willem do?
Yeah, Willem just like nods back to Ronnel and readies his sword. He hasn't followed Ronnel into battle before, but yeah, he trusts him. So he just follows along.
A sliver of sun peels up to watch your approach to the camp of those tracked by Jes. I think it's probably a good point to take a smoko bio break and then come back for the righteousness. Sound all right to you guys?
Sounds good.
Cool. All right, I'll be back in
Yeah. Oh, good God, that's a nat one. Do I don't have advantage, inspiration, do I? Nope.
It's rare as hen's teeth inspiration these days.
Yeah. Jesus, that's it. Yeah,
So
one
you leave
chance.
it. You leave ahead of the party crossing the stream. They wait moments behind you and then take their own leave. At the direct approach, where the trail that you've tracked leads, while you skirt around the east, heading to get around behind it and to cut off any retreat or escape. Your brother's orders ringing over and over in your mind as you step through the mist, almost seeing it being burnt away by the rising dawn by which you're backlit. As you creep here and there, eventually coming into sight of many tents in making a regular circle of a campfire that's being tended. On the eastern side of this camp, there's a triangular corral where alone one wounded horse stands, munching. And amongst the couple of men you can see through the distance and the trees, there's a hound which lopes around in their legs. And it's almost as if it feels you watching it in the way that someone that feels you watching them in a room and turns to face you, that its face furrows and turns in your direction, its ears go up, and of course, can't see you, but must smell you or know you, and commences to barking in such a earnest fashion that the men who at first rebuke it and soon turn from the fire, putting their hands to their sides where weapons grow, and look about in the direction that the dog barks, calling out, "Who goes there? Who goes there?" And these questions rouse a third figure from one of the tents, who comes out shivering under a mail coat as it begins to wriggle its way down his chest and belly. "What's going on? What's going on, lads?" He calls, and they point. "Stranger sniffed something, though beast or man we could not tell. We'll see to it." And the two of them kind of nod and break apart and move generally in your direction. And all the hairs from the nape spine to the small of your back go up and tingle.
Absolutely, yeah. And perhaps for a few moments too long before she has that sort of realization and snaps back and snaps to action. As you said, she was going over Ronnel's commands and orders in her head, and perhaps this time over-analysing them after the confusion of last time, and is perhaps a bit too distracted, and that's how she got picked up by the dog. So, but is the tree, are the trees thick enough to sort of count as forest in terms of my favoured terrain?
Yes. Yep.
Cool. So I've got 40 feet movement, and I can move stealthily at full speed. So I think she would probably try and lead them around, I guess. Try and lead them over to the northwest while she loops around to the east to try and get in a good position near the horse there. So maybe by throwing something to try and distract them.
Yeah, the dog will not stop barking as you do this. So one of them will, at the man's call, will unleash the hound, and it will sprint off in your direction. You guys further back down the trail from the ambush site hear suddenly this dog incessant barking pierce, almost heralding your approach. And the crossbowman looks to Garenport, and Daleb looks to you, Willem.
She's roused them. Ronnel, should we should hurry.
Yeah, he'll nod and begin running in that direction, making noise now, not concerned about being quiet, just in case they find her before they get there.
The tramp of armoured men is added to the tune. Back across on the eastern side of the camp, Jes, you'll have to roll a stealth check opposed by the hound as you try and lead it away from the camp.
All right, that's a bit more like it. That'll be 22.
Nice. The hound eventually is sniffing and circling around the tree where you'd been hiding behind and first detected by it. And by that time, you're already sprinting across further away from the camp, so that by the time that it sniffs about the ground in circles for a few moments and lopes gently off in the direction that you'd went, it has no sight of you, and neither do the men who are the two men who are sprinting after the hound, calling out, and they have their weapons drawn now. But yeah, you duck from tree to tree quite swiftly, drawing 3 of the 4, I guess, of the enemy camp away from their position. At this point, the man who'd adopted his chain and sword was about to run after where the hound's gone, but some sense stops him, and then he realizes it's a sound, and it's the sound of armored men sprinting, and he'll turn and move towards the south of the camp and climb up onto the stump of a felled tree and look down towards the stream where the eastern rising sun reveals the glint of armor of you men of House Grayle charging in. And his clarion call goes up to his companions, but it's too late. They're already split by the time everyone rolls initiative. Yeah, so Jes, you've moved nearly 100 feet away from where you had stopped still in fright. Now heart pumping, adrenaline spiking, you're beginning to lead the hound on a merry chase as you dart, muscles pumping, away from the camp and ducking here and there to kind of obscure yourself from enemies by this tree or that, and hope that your companions can seize upon the confusion you're attempting to sow.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you said I drew, apart from the dog, there's 3 of the 4 bandits that are sort of chasing me through the woods.
You only seen 3. The 2 chasing you are the water bearer and the fire tender, and the dog whom they called Stranger.
Yeah.
For that's what it was to them. And the other does not seem to be you can't see him pursuing you, though. Because of the trees behind you, you couldn't be certain that he's not pursuing you.
Yeah. Okay, no worries. So still, more leaving them on the chase at this point rather than making any attacks. So I think probably what I do, since so I'm about, did you say 100 feet away from the camp now, or sort of just?
No, the hound had moved over to near where you were, so you would have been 60 from the camp at first and then moved 80, so you're 140 away from the camp itself.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and 80 away from the hound.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What she would probably do is keep moving around and to loop right around to the east and sort of east southeast side of the camp where she saw that injured horse in the corral, and to just come in a bit of a pincer since the rest of the force are coming sort of from the west. So I guess at this point, just a full move and dash.
Okay.
So would that put me down around? So I'm looking at this image here. Would that put me down near in the trees, sort of just to the east of where the corral and that tent is? What would that be? 80 feet movement.
Yeah. See where there's a triangle of trees there that's kind of like 20 feet from the eastern tip of the corral.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could get into the midst of there, I think, but you'd have to make a stealth check to not be tracked by the hound.
Yeah, perfect. All right, let's do that. 18.
Nice. Yeah. So you get there, and the hound is still kind of like barking and like sprints this way and that before it can like try and pick up the trail again. And at this stage, like the other two are off. Their vision of you is obscured by trees, and for the purposes of the game, the unknown warrior is up on the tree stump, has kind of got his back, I guess, to over where you are, looking down at your companions who have broken into an armored sprint now towards this camp. So yeah, no one can kind of see you and see where you're making your beeline for.
Perfect. Actually, if I can then use my bonus action to mark that guy standing on the tree stump as my use my hunter's mark.
Sure.
Just see the range is 90 feet. If he's within there, then I think she'll just say, as she sort of creeps through the trees and just sort of peers through the front of the tree line over down there on the east and sees him standing atop the stump, she just says, "Gotcha," as the verbal component of this spell, technically.
Nice. Daleb Page will like see this armored figure stand up from the tree stump that crests the rise he's approaching, and like look to Sir Garin, who just roars and points his sword forward, and in that fearful like broke voice shriek, Daleb will draw his own untested blade and give more a boy's war cry than a man's one, and begin sprinting up the hill. He'll use his movement and dash. The armored man, seeing this, his face darkens. He'll move back to the closest tent, the one he'd emerged from, come back out with a crossbow, and from atop the tree stump, move it in survey across the enemy sprinting up the hill towards him. He's not concerned with the screaming squire, but he is concerned with the hulking knight who bears a tabardry and has his sword raised high. So he'll click the mechanism and let fire a quarrel of fate at Sir Garin. But 17 will not be enough. It just whizzes overhead, and he shrieks rebuff up the hill at the man, who casts down the crossbow now and draws the sword at his side, stepping down the last of his movement from the stump. And one hand on the sword, other gloved hand up to his mouth, he's calling out, "What? Cole! To camp! To camp!" And that will stop their pursuit of you, Jes, as they turn to him and see his worry. Auster, you see this happen before you as you see Garin and Daleb sprinting up toward the foe atop the hill.
Yeah,
All cover and concealment, surprise lost.
Seeing that Willem and Ronnel are behind me, and our crossbowman has our cover, I will slow my step, knowing that both my brothers are better at this, and I will take a hold action to when they engage. For that is when the opening presents itself the best, and that's when I'll strike. So I'll wait till it's like, can I just hold my action, I guess? So I'll move.
Yeah, or delay if you want. If you like, delay. You can hold an action. Yeah, or delay. Cool.
Yeah.
So you just tell me at the end of whatever turn you want to go, and that will become your new initiative spot.
Awesome.
Okay. Wart will stop in his tracks, turn back, and forgo his chase of you, Jess, and use his movement and action to get back to the eastern boundary of the camp you see on my overlay. And he's sprinting towards his obviously his captain of sorts. Willem, you see the brave squire rushing up the hill, and a quarrel narrowly miss Sir Garin, and the fight becomes real. As you see him over there, you're 65 feet from the tree stump that the armored man had fired from.
Yeah, Willem's just going to charge in after Daleb, shouting to him. And I'll just move dash to be, I guess, adjacent to him, if I can.
Okay. Cole will do the same as Wart, turning from the unknown quarry in the woods and sprinting off to join Wart on the eastern outskirts of the camp, rushing to the aid of their master. The Grayle crossbowman will move up 30 feet, not so far as all of you, until take a knee, winching an arrow onto his mechanism, and then haul it up, waiting. It's trained on the tree stump to see if the armored figure will present himself from it. And he'll just ready in action. Hopefully won't forget. Ronnel, you hear Garen's war cry and hear the iron wasp of the crossbowman, and then hear the sound of battle to come. And you're more comfortable here than maybe in the courts of before a surge.
I'll roar out, sing your last, and charge forward. I'm going to throw a spear on the way at the big man in the armor.
Mm-hmm.
It's a definite miss. I get a 3 on the die, so I'll just sing past him, I guess.
Thunk into the tree stump.
Yeah, but I'll roar loudly, and move.
Cool, so you're up next to the crossbowman, the Grayle crossbowman. Garen Port.
I'll take my turn after Ronnel.
Sure.
I'll be next to Willem as I move close to him, and seeing that he's next to Sir Ander. And does their swords cross? Or I guess he has a crossbow, right?
No, and the armored man Sir Ander cast down his crossbow, drew his sword, and moved back to the center of his camp from the tree stump. So even though your companions move dash, and if you do up to alongside them, you won't be adjacent to him. You'll just be close to him.
Okay. So who is Willem engaged
He's next
with right
to
now?
Daleb. He's only adjacent to Daleb, who's your ally.
Oh, okay. Then I just moved close to him, waiting for Willem to engage.
Mm-hmm. That'll only take 60 foot of movement to get there. I don't know if you have bonus dash or anything like that.
Yeah, cutting action.
So you would still have an action left if you wished, if you wanted to move dash next to Willem.
No, seeing just to delay my action once again if he is engaged.
I get you. So ready to action for if Willem gets attacked, you'll attack him.
Correct.
Cool. I get you. After Auster, it will go to. Oh, sorry, that was you went after Ronald Hay, so it's Garen Port now. He will move and dash, I think, rushing towards this armored figure in the middle of the camp. He'd be up in the midst of you three as well. That's all he can do. Stranger will turn from the previous quarry at the call of his master and move dash, outstripping Wart and Cole, to put himself at the center of the camp and nearby to his master, but not able to get to any of you as yet. Jess. The wounded horse stamps nervously in the corral at your approach, it alone sensing you while everyone else is concerned only with battle.
She tries to calm the horse as she knocks and draws an arrow and looses it at the man who's now wielding the sword. Is he still standing on the stump?
No, he'd moved away from it, in cover of it from your companions, but open to you.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so she'll let fly an arrow. That'll be 17 to hit.
It strikes him in the back of the shoulder, and he cries out in pain, like stumbles back, looking around now, putting his back to the oncoming foe to spy you revealed at the corral near his horse.
And that's for 10 damage.
Ooh, nice.
With the extra damage from the Hunter's Mark. Well, I only rolled a 1 on that d6, but still, yeah. And I think she'll actually, yeah, she'd keep moving and ducking and weaving now, I guess. So she'd dissolve back into the trees and move 40 feet, probably around sort of to the north, circling around the eastern side of the camp.
Cool. Yeah, so 40 foot from where you were in that triangle of trees near the horse corral, east of the camp.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Daleb will. Oh God, would he have the stones to charge this guy? I think he feels emboldened by the overwhelming numbers that like the immediacy provides. So he will rush up and give a squire's lash out against this armored figure for a 12 all up. Which of course, the warrior will easily parry with his most likely pilfered blade. Blackberry will. I believe he would provoke opportunity of attack from Daleb Page and movement and dash across the camp towards the corral. To get to his horse. And that's all he'll do. So I'll make an attack for Daleb, which is a miss. Wart and Willem, seeing their master do this, kind of rushing towards them or past them now when they thought he was to stand there, can see why as so many warriors begin to like pour forth towards them, and they see what they think is their master going to horse to give him an advantage against the foe. They do not see that he is intending to flee, as you probably do, Ronnel. So they will rush towards you foemen. They'll use their movement, each of them, to rush towards you. Wart will get there first, and he will attack Sir Garin. And for a 19 on the die, definitely hit him. We'll stab him with a spear, which he holds with 2 hands. He's not bloodied as Sir Garin, but the spear grinds off his hip bone, then shears out the flesh at the side of his leg there, so that's not embedded in him, but strikes him painfully, and the man cries out in pain, cutting short his war cry, and promises the knave rebuke. Willem, you see this next to you, the flash of steel and the spray of hot blood upon you from the wound opened up on Garen's side. Daleb shrieks.
So Garen's like adjacent to me, close.
Yep, he's on one side of you and Daleb's on the other. Auster is at your 5 o'clock.
And we're engaged with Wart and
Yep.
Cole?
No, but Cole is running behind Warden and will presumably try and do the same, but he acts after you.
Okay. How far away to Blackberry?
60 feet.
Fuck. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm just going to level a blow at... what's his name? Wart? Close on one. 18 to hit?
Certainly. Yeah, the man wears like a leather jerkin and high boots and like a filthy hide cap.
Yeah, it's 10 damage. I just cleave down a massive strike.
Yeah, it doesn't bloody him, but it opens up a grisly wound, and he cries out in pain, though does not flee or fall.
Then my 19 definitely hits him. If an 18 gets past his defenses, and he'll take 13 as the opening presents itself.
Oh, he's bloodied now. A quarrel like just appears in his side, and he groans and vomits blood as he turns side over, like exposing himself nearly to you. Willem, satisfying shot, no doubt, for Auster, which reminds me that the Grayle crossbowman's ready to action would trigger when Blackberry fled from you guys. But that quarrel goes wide and just like disappears into a tent, to the side of a tent. After Ronnel, Auster's ready to action, it is Cole. So Cole will rush up. Sorry?
Oh, is it?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, you're right. It is him. Sorry,
Yeah.
There's a bit of confusion.
Cole, then Grayle.
Yeah. Because the crossbow went when it was ready. Sorry, that's my bad.
Yep. Yeah, so Cole will like heft up his axe in one hand, draw his dirk and his offhand, and run screaming into the fray. He's a cowardly brigand, so he's definitely going to go for Daleb for a miss. As he swings the axe, the squire's learnt something in the yard and like blocks it, a fine block, but fails to block the dirk that comes in and aimed at the exposed side of his ribs. And Crimson now dwells there. The lad will take, it grinds off bone, so it's painful more than it's terrible. The blade comes free, and the squire will only take 4 damage. But that nearly bloodies him, and he cries out in pain. And his page garments, the black and red snake heads twined, is redded now with his own vitality. After Cole the coward, the Grayle crossbowman will curse, put his boot down, and winch another quarrel on. Move up to get better vantage and just ignore the melee for risk of shooting his own men, and we'll try and get a shot at the knave knight running for his horse. And it's a hit, just in the back of the fleeing Surrender, and a heavy crossbow is a nasty ting. 5. Yeah, the quarrel takes the man such that he's got an arrow and a quarrel now, and he's back, and he nearly like stumbles over onto the ground, drops his weapon for a moment, regathers it despite the lightning pain, and continues on towards the beast. And the crossbowman will just look down, thumbing another quarrel and preparing to ready a shot. Ronnel.
I'll keep running, and I'll throw my second spear, this one at the horse that he's running to. That'll almost certainly hit a 16.
That's a hit.
Oh, 9 damage.
Okay, so the horse was nearly bloodied. Now it is very bloodied, nearly slain. It shrieks and like tries to rear up, which only serves to like distend the arrow and allow bits of its belly to be like spooling out like escaping snakes. Gives an equine shriek which shrills the bone, but does not fall, though is ghastly wounded.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just continue moving, so I guess I'll probably now get to where the others are. Is that right? Or is it another round till I get there?
Oh no, you would have had to move in a direction away from them to get line of sight onto where he was to hurl the arrow at the horse. So they're kind of like behind you 15 to 20 feet, that melee.
Okay, I'll just call out to the crossbowman and like point at the horse, and then I'll draw my sword. I'm out of spears now.
He gives a corn-toothed eye as he's like thumbing another quarrel, and he'll set to that business.
All right. Hearing my lord's command, if I have to, I'll use the disengage action from Wart. Move in a strategic manner to give a good line of sight with that horse, and a 16 with the short bow. Will that pierce the beast?
Certainly will. Yeah, I should really even give it an AC neg for being corralled. But yeah, it hits anyway.
Then it'll take 4 more points of piercing.
It's 1 more than is needed. So it takes the beast in the neck, and most would say mercifully silences it. It like slumps to the ground, pierced through twice, and bearing old wounds. The valiant beast will give no more service. Garen will swing down, seeing Daleb wounded and try and cut off Cole's hand. But he misses. And Stranger, seeing you now revealed, Jes, will move dash to get adjacent to you and like begin at your boot. It's your turn now.
Yeah, she's as the dog races towards her, she's instinctively reaches towards the sort of bag of food treats, little bits of meat that she keeps for fish, her dog back at Swansong. And I think thinks better of it, given the situation and probably how trained this dog is to just kill intruders. So she'll hastily knock an arrow and try and fire one at it as it races towards her.
So it moved and dashed, so it got adjacent to you, so have disadvantage on a bow shot if you don't provoke opportunity of attack by moving back.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. What she'll do then, because she hesitated and wasn't too sure, it's now suddenly upon her. So what she'll do is drop her bow and draw her short sword, her castle forged short sword, from her waist, and strike with that instead. That's only going to be an 11 to hit.
That just misses the hound, maybe in like the fright of it all, and the quickness of it. The strike just goes wide from the erratic behavior of the beast.
Yeah. And then with her mobile feat, so when she makes a melee attack against a creature, she doesn't provoke opportunity attacks for the rest of the turn, even if she missed. So she'll do that and then bolt away. 40 feet movement.
I think if you do that, the only enemy that has line of sight on you is the hound, because by the trees in the distance, the other threes who have more immediate foes would just lose track of you, I reckon.
Yeah, perfect.
Daleb clutches with one hand at the red tears weeping while he strikes out with the other to defend himself with instinct more than skill, but it's poor and it's easily swatted aside by Wart. Blackberry is just about to mount up on the beast when it's shot out, slain before him. Sees that the hound sprint off into the woods, and then looks back to see that most are caught with the melee. But for you, Ronald, who seemed to be the leader of these men, barking out commands, shining red like the sun, and his face will darken, feeling the noose of fate tighten, and will turn and sprint towards you, grabbing his blade in two hands now to swing down in two arcs, one for a crit and one for a 22 to hit.
Jesus. Yeah, they both hit.
Okay. 6. 27 slashing damage.
Okay, I'm down.
Yeah, he slashes you across the chest, kicks you down, you go to rise, but he just barrels over the top of you. And you see him kind of growing smaller, rushing towards the melee before dreams kind of take over or delirium more than reality. Shit. And then it goes to Wart. He's emboldened by his lord bellowing and rushing towards the fray, and he'll try and do away with Daleb quickly, but he misses in his haste. Willem, next to you, you see beyond the armoured press of men about, Ronnel get cut and drop to the street, barreled over by the foeman.
How far is he from me?
Let me consult the map. "25 feet from where you and the others are in melee."
Yeah, I'm gonna just run to him. He's only engaged with what, Cole, is it?
You are, yes. So he'll get an opportunity of attack.
Yeah, and Ronald's fighting Wart then?
Mm-hmm. No, Ronald's off in the way between yourselves, melee, and the corral where the animal was shot down.
Okay,
Ronald's
right.
not in the fight with you guys. He was just in a fight alone with Ender, who cut him down with a crit.
Okay, shit, I see. Okay, I'm gonna just take the disengaged, the opportunity attack, and scream at to Ronnel and charge at Blackberry. It's 21 to hit. 7 damage.
This one's
Charge over, blunder into him.
Yeah, you do. As he's pulling his sword, hefting and ready to charge in, you break away and move up, barreling into him, and then slashing down. Blood spills over his chain.
Do I get hit by the attack
No,
of opportunity?
14 all up. He strikes out at you, but there's other foes about, and he quickly must turn his attention to defending himself rather than pursuing you.
Yeah, Willem didn't even like look to that strike.
Just like concerned now. I guess from where you are, it would have looked just like a death blow.
To Ronnel, yeah.
Yeah. But we will see. After Willem, it's Cole. He will strike up now with his spear, aiming for Garen's guts. Garen catches the spear in like the crook of his arm, like his armpit, and like twists around, wrenching it from the enemy's hands. And Cole will like scrabble for the weapon futilely before drawing out a dagger from his belt. The Grayle crossbowman will. He knows his lord's last orders, but then he's seen his lord fall. I think he's an old and pragmatic dude and thinks, while it's uncertain fate, that it's better to fire at the enemy than go to save the lord. And he'll deal with the consequences of that choice should it come up. But he's going to fire at Ander for a hit. And a quarrel. A third missile strikes him in the back for 10. He's bloodied. Cries out in pain now as he like looms over you, Willem. But now another stacking of the advantage to you as he sprouts another missile in the back.
That was the Grayle crossbowman?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it... Oh, sorry, you go?
No, I was just going to take my turn because Ronald's down.
Cool. I was just going to say after that... Yeah, the crossbowman will put down his crossbow and draw out an axe from a belt loop at his side now, and actually join the melee now that everyone's engaged in melee, and he might hit a friendly. So he'll just move up to give you advantage, Willem. And then it's Ronnel's turn, unless I've got it wrong, and then Auster.
That's right.
Death save.
Oh, yeah. A fail.
Auster.
Yeah, seeing the first Son of Grayle down and the second one in jeopardy, I abandon all range attacks and I will move to engage this guy if I need to take my cunning action to engage him. I think I can. Can I get there in one move action?
If you're in the melee, he was 25 feet from you, so yeah.
Okay,
you can
great.
get to him with one move.
Yeah, in fact, as I move into him, I even, first I'll attack as I see that he's engaged and the opening presents itself. Critical.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's critical.
With the damage first.
Sure.
And you've just finished the missile one, say, Lloyd. Oh, how perfect.
Okay. So let's see. 8 plus 6, so 14, 17, all up.
Okay, he's still alive, though very bloodied, and a D20, please.
It was a melee attack, right?
Correct.
Monster? Yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah. With what weapon?
A Bravosi sword.
Cool, so roll a D6.
Okay. 4.
Cool, and a D20.
12.
As your opponent stumbles slightly and exposes their knee, you strike with terrible force and are rewarded with a squeal of agony as they tumble into the muck. The target is knocked prone. Their movement becomes 5 feet of crawling. Their movement speed becomes... their movement becomes 5 feet of crawling. Their movement speed becomes 10 feet for the next 2d4 weeks and will remain so permanently without a successful DC 17 wound-wise or medicine check. On a success, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you just like drive your blade through his knee and it comes out the other side and he pig squeals and drops prone, crawling.
Yeah, can I kick his blade? I don't know if he drops that.
Technically, no, he's still got the blade even though he's proned.
Got it. All right. That's it. And in fact, I call, if he has any fight left in him, I try to draw his attention away from the brothers Grayle.
Sir Garen, seeing Ronnel cut and drop, he'll go, "Run!" And then he'll just turn and he's going to grapple Cole. And Cole fails and is grappled. And then Garen will like drag him up against the wall of the closest tent and put his sword to the man's throat. Stranger will harry at you, Jess. It will move, dash to get adjacent to you, and then it's your turn.
Excellent. And she's waiting with the sword to strike it at Stranger right when he comes within range. Pre-roll for a 15 to hit with the short sword.
Certainly.
And that'll be 9 damage.
Oh, yeah, you drive the blade through the hound's throat. It gives like a curdled yelp. You draw the blade out and it drops, spasming on the ground, and will not rise.
Yeah. I imagine she made that strike with a and skewers it, dispatches it, and then rushes back to the camp where I'm sure she's heard some sounds of people being wounded. She's worried that it's her brothers, so she'll race back 40 feet movement, which I think she still just breaks the tree line, as I understand it. Then.
Yep. Yeah, you'd be inside of and on the outskirts of the camp, but not in the midst where your companions are.
Yeah, if she could, she'd probably try and retrace so that she can. So she's right now standing basically where she left her bow earlier, and if she can use her free action to pick that up this turn, that would be great.
For sure. Yep.
Cool.
Dale Page will rush over and flank Cole with Sir Garin and try and stab him through the back, but somehow fumbles. Or maybe it collects some of the armor of the foeman and is like driven wide. But it's a clumsy squire strike, and it does not slay Cole. Blackberry shot through the back thrice, a dagger through his knee, crawls, like reaches out with a mailed hand to like wrap around his blade, and will give just like an arcing swipe behind him to cut out the ankles of the closest foeman behind him. Which I believe adjacent to him is Willem and Auster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I drew his attention, so if he wants to go
It'll
after
be
me,
you.
that's
Okay.
Great.
No, 12 will not do it. So he swings, but you're able to like step aside, and it just kind of gouges into the mud, and like he blooms more like blood about him. He will try and rise, but like fall back down from the agony that the failure brings, and like cry out, piteously. Wart's very badly wounded. He will turn to see Cole being overwhelmed and look at the Grayle crossbowman rushing into the fray, and so rush to meet him and try and gut him. Swings his axe and misses, and then drives the dirk up, and the old crossbowman is wily to it and drives the strike wide. The Grayle crossbowman now will club. Hang on. No, it's Willem's turn, sorry.
Blackberry, how near death does he look? I know he's
so close. He looks to you like his wounds will be terminal. Like he has 2 quarrels and an arrow in his back, and his knee is ruined, and he's surrounded by angry warriors.
Can I just give him like a boot to the head to try to, like, knock him to unconsciousness?
Yeah, make an attack, and we'll say that you can take him alive if you manage to hit and take him over. But
he's prone, right?
He is.
It's 15.
Yeah, you go to boot him in the head, but like some instinctual surge goes through him, and he veers wide, and it just stomps it down into the mud and blood, and he rolls over, face ruined, and breaking the arrow in his back behind him, which causes him to shriek further.
I'm just going to scream out an action surge and go to boot him again to like stomp down on him this time. It's only a 16.
Yeah, the same again. This time maybe he like brings up a hand to like catch the boot and like drive it wide. You nearly like stumble over.
Fuck. Yeah, that was all with advantage because he's prone.
Yep. Cole then, he already took Cole's turn accidentally. The Grayle crossbowman will grab Cole by the scruff of his throat and try and gut him with the axe, which he, well, doesn't gut him, but he hits him. Ronnel, death save. Auster.
Not needed. Okay. Yeah, seeing Blackberry is crawling in the mud, gasping his last, I quickly move to my lord's side, and I will stabilize him if possible, doing the best I can.
Yeah, medicine check.
Yep, that's going to be a 24.
Most certainly. Yeah, most certainly save his life, stabilizing him, binding the wounds. I think he's swooning in and out of unconsciousness. I don't know if there was any weird words he'd give, Lloyd.
I think he'd just be in shock. This was to him just like a little military maneuver, like a little skirmish, like a parade. And then he nearly dies, and so I think he just like swoon in out of consciousness, and be like mumbling about that.
Lie still. Lie still. Don't move.
Yeah, I got him. Did I get him?
You got him. Just lie still.
Yeah, and then he'll probably pass out.
Garen now will try and prone Wart on the ground. And he does. He overpowers the smaller framed youth, and now that he is like beneath the boot and prone of Garen Port, and a wounded, angry, blood-upped Daleb standing over him. The stranger is slain, so Jes, it's your turn.
Yeah, emerging from the tree line and seeing some of her siblings worse for wear, but she would also see. Actually, could she see from where she is the Sir Blackberry?
Yeah, and you could tell of the melee and stuff going on with Garen, Wart, and Daleb as well. But yeah, you have a clear line of sight on everything that's going on with Ronnel and Sir Andrew at the moment.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. I think seeing the situation with Sir Andrew, because Willem's there, he's got that in hand. I think she would fire an arrow probably at Wart. That'll be a 13 to hit.
That just misses and like into the tent that they're fighting about.
And she realizes, thankfully, that didn't hit Sir Garen.
Or Daleb would have killed him.
Yeah, geez, yeah. As she moves forward, I suppose, moves sort of 40 feet sort of around into the camp and knocks another arrow.
Okay. Daleb with his flank is just going to like pretty much put his blade up against the man and give like a scream before he heaves with all of his weight to try and just like slowly impale him for a crit. Glorious. Let's see if it was a double crit. It was not. So 12. I don't need to roll a crit because it just pokes out the other side of him, makes a tent of the chain that he looks down and screams in horror of recognition before it's twisted and pulled out, and a great gout of blood sees Wart fall from this place. And Daleb looks down at what he's done and then doubles over, vomiting. And seeing you gone and not being able to crawl towards you, Auster will round on Willem, and from prone will try and stab up at your belly for disadvantage for a miss. You can smash the strike wide. Wart is slain, so it's your turn, Willem.
How's Cole?
Cole's nearby to you, but not adjacent. He is wounded, but not bloodied, and fighting with the Grayle crossbowman, who now bears an axe.
Fuck. And Blackberry's still beneath me?
Yeah, Blackberry is like very badly wounded, shot thrice, dagger through the knee, can only crawl.
Okay, well, yeah, Willem's just incensed now, and he just brings his sword down. Oh, that's shit as well.
With advantage.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's over 20.
That hits.
13 damage this time.
Describe the ending of Surrender, who's adopted recently the title Blackberry.
Yeah, he just hacks down like into his skull, and it just cleaves like partly through, severing off like a side of his head. And yeah, Willem just like screams and hacks again at the corpse. Maybe only partway through that, hearing that that Ronnel isn't dead, as he mutters a few words to Auster. I think, yeah, and he'll move over to back up the crossbowman.
Yeah, with using all your movement, you could get a flank if you wanted to. Like you could get in behind the man. Yep.
I'll do such.
Cole sees this, and I don't think I should roll. I think he would yield. Everyone else is slain, even the dog, and he's overwhelmed with numbers, and himself wounded. So he'll kneel, throw down his weapon. I yield, and the crossbowman will like stop at the last minute his sword strike to just be like a mailed punch in the face with the hilt of the sword, which sends the youth vomiting to the ground. And then the crossbowman will like sheathe his sword and like go and put his boot up on the thing's neck after he's yielded. And then it kind of goes a bit quieter at that, but for the of Ronnel and the prisoner.
Yeah, I look around for any more assailants guarding the Lord Ronnel with my life and with my sword, for anyone that may be hiding or lurking.
Yeah, Willem will turn around, looking, scream out, "Jes!" and see that she's relatively unscathed, alive at least. And yeah, then he'll move to Ronnel's side. Auster, he lives? What? I'll look to the wounds.
He's all right. He's all right. He's stable for now. We need to get out of here. I immediately look to you, Willem. I was like, what should we do, my lord?
Yeah, Willem sort of looks back for like a decent length of time until realizing that you're waiting for me to say what we should do. And he stands up and says, how bad is Ronnel? We must leave now?
I look around to see, does this camp look like it contains more than 4 people?
Well, just there's more than 4 tents for starters.
Yeah,
but
that's
like
what
to
I
determine all that would take minutes of like investigation, prodding around and looking.
Yeah, I make this kind of like the forefront of my argument to leaving, that there may be more. This is not a camp of 4.
Yes, you're right. I'll direct the crossbowman, I guess, to go and get Ronnel's horse for us to sling him over. And,
I'm a lord. He'll rush off and do that thing.
And we'll take this one with us. We'll take him with. And as I point my blade at him.
Yeah.
We'll skull drag him over to your feet and then sprint off down the hill towards where the horses are tethered.
Yeah, I'll bind the man's hands and feet. We'll put him over a horse as well when the horses are brought up.
Once Garen's heard word of reassurance from you, Auster, that Ronnel will like live in his stable, he'll send his squire, and he'll do so as well, like ransacking the place in the minutes that pass before there's sound of the crossbowman and horse returning.
Yeah, Willem will do the same.
I'll look for a possession of it, like they said if they've waylaid any like lords, I look for some type of like signet ring or something like that. Anything
This blackberry guy has like the blackberry bush sigil on
Shield,
his
yeah, of the hedge knight that Jordell, the wounded squire, spoke of.
Yeah. So Roderick?
Roddick.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
I'll
take that
say
with
as much
us.
that he'd said. Yeah.
If we can't take the horses, we should probably, I don't know. We probably should take the horses if we can.
There was only one horse, and it was slain by you guys. You tracked 2 horses here, but there's only one here apparently.
Okay.
Just like you tracked 4 people here, and there's only 3 apparently.
Yeah, I think Jes would point that out. I definitely saw tracks of 2 horses. Seemed like one was being ridden and one was being walked.
I look to Willem, my lord. I think we should make to the closest hold fast and alert the lord there. We are 2 wounded.
Yes, of course. And Ronnel needs to be seen to.
Absolutely.
Back to Helm's Crest then. What's that?
Well, how far are we away?
You're closer currently to, and in technically, Woad lands on the other side of the King's Road, west of Helm's Crest.
To our
closer
aunt.
to, yeah, you'd be closer to Pine Hedge, the seat of your aunt and her husband.
Pine Hedge, my lord. We should make for our aunt.
Of course, yes,
Your
of course.
aunt.
We will do so with haste. And I guess we'll finish looting. What of this camp? We should burn it. Auster?
Yes. We set
yeah, I
burning
guess
the camp. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, for sure. Yes.
Willem's he would ask Jes if she has gathered anything else, knowing her skill in the forests. Just assuming that she'll know something he doesn't.
Caleb took a wound, right? I think, was that our only wounded besides Ronnel?
The Grayle crossbowman was wounded, though not too badly. Caleb was nearly bloodied. Garen was badly hurt, but not bloodied. Kind of like I imagine like a nasty gash on his arm that bled heaps, but didn't hurt enough at the time. But now everything's stopped. Is kind of, yeah, it's a decent sized wound.
Yeah, I start from the worst and work my way down, bandaging wounds while they burn and police the camp of valuables.
And will you stick to the before planned dragging of these corpses to the road to be hanged in the trees, or will you forgo that now that Ronald's been struck down?
Yes, but we'll take that prisoner, so he'll be our proof of banditry.
Yeah, that's a good sort of halfway. We won't bother with the corpses.
And you'll ride west. Oh, sorry, you go.
I was just going to say just some logistics stuff, I guess. So Jes would have popped back out to where the wagon was and our horses and sort of bring them all in so we can load it up and get the fresh crossbowman to help load Ronnel onto his horse and things like that.
I reckon Ronald would have to ride in the wagon.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I can't see him riding a horse after just being, like, struck down like that. Open up his wounds again. But, yeah,
Good
you have
point,
a wagon
yeah.
at least.
I imagined him slung over the horse, but actually that's not lordly like at all. So, yeah,
not
wagon
great for
it
open
is.
wounds either.
Yes. As I step close and I stop for a moment, and now that the battle is over, my head clears. I turn back towards it's like we can't let any survivors. And I look to Willem. Not if our
it takes Willem quite a little while to piece all that together. And he nods, thinking there's no point, like we don't gain anything from keeping this bandit alive. The Blackberry guy, he doesn't have anything to denote him as anything but a bandit, right? If we take his pilfered goods off him.
Oh yeah, we take that. Okay, go ahead.
You can take all of his goods. Yeah, you imagine like they're armed with the stuff that they stole from the knights they slew.
Okay, yeah, but he doesn't have like any kind of ring or anything of his own.
No.
Okay.
Strikes you more as like a hedge knight trying to like kill people to arm himself enough that he might go to the tourney and earn a name and sigil for himself. But yeah, no symbol.
Okay, so yeah, Willem's just going to like he'll slowly nod at Auster, and as everyone else is like gathering themselves to leave, he's going to go over and end this bound man now. I guess he'd be like bound.
Is he unconscious?
Yep.
Oh, give me I want to question him shortly, but I guess we don't have time for that. So, yeah.
Yeah, Willem's thinking there's no point questioning him anyway. Like, they're bandits. What are we going to gain from questioning him?
Where the other bandits are, if they're more bandits.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Willem's going to like go end him with his sword. I guess he doesn't have a dagger. Just because he doesn't care about the other bandits compared to
cool.
the bullshit becoming like coming to bear.
I feel your pain, Auster, but so it is. Willem just moves up and kills the unconscious man.
That's fine, as it should be, I guess. All right. Well, then, if we're done, we make for our aunt's estate.
If it wouldn't have taken too long to get the wagon driver and the fresh crossbowman to help Jes use some of her rope to sling up the corpses as Ronnel had originally ordered, and then chuck a couple of burning logs into the tents on their way out.
Yeah, they had like skins drying and like a workshop stuff in one of the tents, so you'd be able to get like rope and whatnot from their camp to string them up by their own nooses, so to speak.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and probably do that sort of on the King's Road there, or up on that northwest section of the map there, so that they're sort of visible. And
so the party of House Grayle ride out from the burning bandit camp and leave the lame puppets up there to watch their sins go to smoke. And you guys cut across the King's Road and then into the country of your aunt and her husband's domain, heading for Pine Hedge and the convalescence of Ronnel after the routing out of the brigands, at least along this stretch of the way. Is there anything any of you guys wanted to say or do before we wrap it up?
No. I think, Jes would just be, I think, staying very closely by Ronnel's side and, trying to help nurse him back to health.
Yeah, Willem would probably be doing the same, like sticking close to his brothers and sister, and Ronnel especially.
I think Ronnel would come round to consciousness and like the true pain of his situation. When you guys come in sight of Pine Hedge, the castle of your aunt, beyond across the farmlands of her folk.
Yeah, I guess he has like a huge cut across his chest, right? Is how I imagine it. Like he ran right up to me and maybe stabbed through the plate or something, or like through the chain. And so he probably like wakes up and sees that he's moving, and then like now that he's awake, can feel every like jolt of like a stone that the cart goes over being particularly painful.
Try not to move too much. It's bad.
The others. Is everyone all right?
Yes. A little worse for wear, but alive.
He was good. He was really good.
Not good enough, says Sir Garin, coming into view from atop his destrier nearby, blotting out the sun for a moment. Not good enough for Will, and he points across to where Willem's riding.
I smile at that.
Willem doesn't smile, knowing that he merely stabbed a man while he was crawling on the ground.
We got him for you, Ron.
Good. We got them. Did we hang them?
He'll nod to Jes, who I guess.
Yeah, Jes is in the wagon with him, with Willem, I guess, has a rope bringing her horse along behind him. And she'll say, as you said, we hung them and burnt the camp.
Good.
The others who weren't there, well, wherever they are, they don't have that home to go back to anymore.
That's good. Where are we?
Pine Hedge. Your aunt's lands.
You'll
need it. You need attending to. It's the closest place.
Well, maybe I'll survive these wounds, but will I survive talking to her for so long? It's a different question. And he'll sort of grin a little bit, and then try to sit up and immediately regret the decision.
Yeah, I don't push you down, but I put one finger on you.
Yeah, Willem's going to smile again as if he's been given permission by Ronnel being showing signs of joviality. And he'll laugh and say, sure, our aunt will be very pleased to see us again so soon, Ronnel.
Yes. She'll no doubt talk about all of the wonderfully pretty women I'm supposed to marry. She does so enjoy that, but alas, at least I'm alive.
Indeed, that great fighter back there, I think he was the one who must have slewn Ser Berick Blackberry.
Well, he's dead now. Food for crows. And that's what happens when you break the law. He'll look at Auster, and he's incapable of saying "Hey, listen, I was a dickhead before." So he'll just sort of nod and say thanks for this.
I share that silent acknowledgement, and I'll just I'll nod in response, knowing that you get the meaning of it.
Yeah, he'll look at Jes the same way, sort of. I mean, he couldn't shrug because he'll open the wound back up, but something akin to it, I think it brings it all back into perspective a little bit when you've almost died. And so he'll say thanks to her as well.
Yeah, she'll just smile, that kind of somewhat sheepish smile, and give him a bit of a sort of sisterly flick on the ear, as she did a few days ago on the road. Just don't die on us.
No such luck.
You'll survive our aunt. We'll be fine. We won't have to stay too long. We'll be home soon enough, she says, as her eyes sort of glaze over, thinking of seeing Haley and Fish again, and going for another explore around Cairnhold.
We see two mailed riders come up bearing the yellow and black colours and sporting the fluttering hedgehog, come to approach and welcome and bring in your party to Pine Hedge, and we'll find out how you guys get through this back to Swansong when we play next, I think. So thanks for the game, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
It's good.